have begun well. However, the challenges are also multifarious. Challenges are of the kind which can tomorrow grow into a kind of a situation which will become unmanageable, and water is one of them. And if one looks back at this city and sees as to what all are the kind of situations that are erupting in this city every day, then the list would be endless. Ladies and gentlemen, when this city came into being quite some time back, nobody ever thought that this will grow into a kind of a scenario as it exists today. Nobody thought that it would become one of the prime destinations for industry. Nobody thought that it would be an extension of South Delhi, probably better than South Delhi. Nobody ever thought that it would begin the kind of a revolution in a number of fields relating to real estate development, relating to consumerism, relating to existing of a large number of facilities for the haves. Nobody ever thought that we would have a kind of a situation in which the real estate prices would go up the way they have actually gone up in the recent times. But having said all this, and having noted the fact that today this is one of the most attractive destinations, despite whatever has been mentioned earlier, this is also a place where a large number of our young population comes in for not only for entertainment, but also for their livelihood, and also for the fact that this also provides destination for leisure and a number of other activities. But having said this, there is one thing which is grossly missing, and which is absolutely essential that any city must rightfully have, and some mention of it was made some time back. This city, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, lacks soul. आत्मा नहीं है. हमारी अंतर आत्मा में दुख नहीं होता है. It doesn't have facilities for health care for the poor. It does not care for its poor. It doesn't have facilities for decent living for its poor, or even the lower class of people, or lower middle class. It only is a city which is today seen to be catering for the people like you and me, who would like to have good facilities, uninterrupted power, and if the power is getting interrupted, then install a generator. If there are problems about water, then dig a bore well, dam the water level, otherwise it's subsurface water level. So these are the kind of situations that we have today. Nobody bothers as to how that poor man is living. Nobody bothers, are there enough facilities available for him to get a job? Nobody bothers as to how is he looking after his old parents, how is he looking after the daily needs. Nobody really is interested, seems to be interested, as to how is he traveling in the city. There is no public transport, hardly any. Now, these are some of the problems which exist, which to me have always struck. When I retired from the army, after having been the head of the largest arm of the Indian Army as Director General Infantry, I thought that I'll come here, lead a very good, contented, retired life. About 4 or 5 years back, something struck me tremendously, because we were getting our house made, and our house in Gurgaon, on that plot that we had bought a couple of years back. And we saw the plight of those construction workers. And what struck me was a total apathy with which we seem to be looking after, or we seem to be really not be bothered at all for our workers. And the situation hasn't changed very much over a period of time. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, without saying anything more on this subject, it is extremely important for us, for all of us, to start waking up to this scenario. And I think first and foremost, it is the responsibility of the corporates. For those who live in these glass houses, for those of us who have got our offices fully air conditioned, having the kind of an environment where probably everything is available to you at your beck and call, I think we must not forget that there is a large section of our population which lives below the poverty line. We must not forget that we have a large section of people who need to be looked after. And for any city to be called a good millennium, useless journal heading a theater of conflict going into war, then to have three very good outstanding journals together managing the environment to go into war, you're bound to lose. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, it is extremely important that there should be unity of command here, as far as the government is concerned. The second point, I think, which is also extremely important, is that the state government must decentralize power. Today, a large amount of our sanctioning powers rests with the state government. Files have to go right up to Chief Secretary or the heads of that particular department for sanction. And many of them, which can easily be delegated down to the local bodies, have not taken place. The third thing is that the empowering of the local bodies. Despite the fact you may feel that this local body is not worth it, I have seen what they talk in their meetings, or in their corporation meetings, or in their municipal committee meetings which take place. However, it is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen, that the elected representatives must have their say. They must have their say, and the powers must be delegated. Long time back, when this move of giving certain local area funds to the MPs and MLAs was initiated, there was a tremendous amount of criticism. I was then posted somewhere here in Delhi in the army headquarters as a much younger officer. And I remember that in the press, principally the print media, there were a number of articles which came out that these chaps are going to squander away funds, that is going to be leading to a number of problems and all. But I think overall this measure has been a great success. It has been a success because it fulfills a certain amount of local needs. Of course, there may be differences with the level of usefulness that it has been able to generate. But overall, this has been a great success, or a fair amount of success. Another point which I felt is extremely important is the fact that most of the actions which are bound to succeed should be people-driven. We seem to have got into a habit of looking up to government for everything. Only those measures succeed which have people's force behind it. The case in point is growth of IT in our country. IT grew because it was really driven by the people. It was driven from the grassroots. Government had no role to play whatsoever in this. And whenever it did intervene later, it only retarded its progress a bit. Today we are one of the major powers as far as information technology is concerned. And the credit for that goes to the people. The second point is this recent Ragiri movement, which is there. Again, it's a great success because the people drove it. Somebody in between did try to put his finger into it, but that was also brushed aside because the people's force was behind it. And what the young lady here was mentioning about the water, and I think if the people get behind this movement about water, I think strong action is bound to take place. Last year, I think there was a very big movement which took place, and which was also taken on by the press. I also had the opportunity of attending some of the meetings in this regard, and the government was forced to take certain amount of measures. I'm not too sure whether they have been successful or not, but if the people's voice is loud enough, if it is forceful enough, you're bound to succeed. And lastly, it is also extremely important that we need to have our will. We, in all seminars or in all gatherings, seem to be getting a feeling that we, the people, are the most suffered lot. This government has not done anything. These chaps, these other fellows, these industry wallahs have not done. These builders have not done something. The local bodies have also not done. With the result that we, the poor people, have suffered a lot. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that our record as a citizen is also not without any blame. If you go around, I go for a walk in the morning, and I go for a walk around 7:30 or so. And what I see in front of every house, there are people with big pipes, and they are washing their cars, shoo, shoo, shoo. And they must have also put some kind of a machinery or a pump to make sure that, you know, that force of that water is also very, nobody cares a damn as to what happens. Point number one. Point number two, you go and see any of this DLF phase 1, 2, 3, any of the sectors here where you have bungalows. People living in big houses, like my house also. What we do is, we encroach right up to the road, build a hedge there. We couldn't care a damn as to where the fellow is to walk. There is no path left for the pedestrians to walk. Who has given us the authority or the right to encroach right up to the road? What kind of citizens are we? Can this take place in the developed society? It cannot. Third point, we see the pay scales and the level of care we give to our own servants. Our pay that we give to our servants, to our maids, to our others, is nothing else but gross exploitation. And I think all this needs to improve. We have to introspect. So, lastly, my point is only one. By all means, Indians are very famous for being self-critical of themselves, and they have been good in this for a very long time, and that is why probably our society has grown, and that is why probably we have been able to produce one of the best technical manpower in the world, because our gray matter remains intact, because we keep analyzing, we keep seeing these kind of or every little thing which needs to improve. However, my point in all this aspect is only one, that we need to, by all means, let's be critical, but let us give it a thought that have we done our duty towards the society, what we want our society to do it to us. Let us also sit back and analyze, have we done enough for that cause that we are talking of, which